Hi, my name is Jeff Nelson. I'm the president of Vandero Marketing, and our product is Mx3 Metrics. You can see a screen capture in front of you. I'm in the account area, and what I'm going to do today is just give you an overview of how it works and some of the features and components of the Mx3 Metrics software. Right now we're in the account tab on the left-hand menu. And this is a basic screen, just outlining the company and a bit of the description and industry, etc. And when that's filled in, then we would just click Save, and it stores that data. There's not really much there, but it's a good place just to keep basic information about the client. We'll be expanding that in future months. The next tab is the Settings tab. And in this tab, you can see we use this to set up the account for each of our clients. We start off with the time periods. In this case, the time periods are the years of the months of the year. And then over here, we can add in additional reporting periods, which generally is years. In this case, for this example, we've got 2 years, 2016 and 2015 data that we'll look at in a bit. The next step that we need to go through is to look at the funnel, the marketing and sales funnel that customers use for their acquisition of new customers. So we start at the top with investment. That's dollars being invested into marketing, and then at the bottom we've got revenue. Some clients use the revenue number or section, others don't. Then we can go through the funnel, which would include impressions, sessions, prospects, and offers. Each client has different things that they want. We can customize this, so if we don't want offers, we want estimates, we can just change that and then save it. And as you can see, when we do save at the bottom here, it will generate the menu on the left hand side here. So it was offers. When I save it, it will become estimates because we've saved it now differently. So that's how the setup of the funnel, acquisition funnel, works. The next step with all our clients when we're setting up the marketing metrics architecture is we look at the channels. In this case, we've got organic channels at the top. Sorry, we have web channels at the top here. Then we've got social media ones. And we also have in our demo, we've got traditional marketing. We can track any type of marketing channel as long as there's data that we can be entered. And it could be as simple as adding in the costs and impressions, and sometimes we'll have outcomes at the bottom as well that we can track. In the sales area would be an example. I'll explain outcomes after I explain marketing channels. So in this case, we can add another channel. Say we wanted to track email. We would add in email and then add, and you can see that it's added in here. We can move it up so that it's connected to that area. Same thing is happening with the funnel measures. In this case, we've got all our channels, and when we click Save, it's going to add in another one right in there for email. If we don't want that one, then we can just turn it off by doing the checkbox there, and then that will cancel it. If there's data in one of these areas that we've collected and we click it off, the data is still saved. It doesn't remove the data, it just doesn't show it. The final step in setting up the marketing metrics architecture is to figure out what outcomes you want. Up here you're making an investment and you want some kind of result. One of the outcomes, obviously one of the outcomes is revenue, but you may want to look at other things, for example, sales number and audience size. And I'll show you in a bit what audience size looks like. You add in the outcomes here, and Sometimes we want to emit them from the metrics, so we'll check that off. That's a bit of an advanced technique, but in this case, in the metrics that we have, what we want to show the data for audience size, but we don't want to have it calculated in the metrics. The last step, as I mentioned earlier, is to click Save. The next step, once we've set up the architecture, we then move on to the measures area. In the measures area, we're going to start with investment, and then we just proceed down the menu through each section and add data as we go. As you can see, I do have data here. This is made up data, so it's not real. But if we wanted to, we could add in an additional cost here, which would be the investment, and then any expenses that are associated. We can add more than one line. I'm going to take those out because I want to show some things later. So I've just taken those out. We can add different rows. You can see most of them have different rows added for the expense. So in this case, there's an agency that's involved with the AdWords search, and then there's an actual media buy, and those would be two different numbers that we would add. And we have to work with each client just to figure out which items they want to include. Typically, we don't include in-house human resources costs. We consider those fixed costs, so we don't add those. But if it's an outside agency or a media buy, we do include that. So you can see down this left-hand side, we've got all the marketing channels right down to trade shows in Chicago. And you can see that trade show we spent $6,000, and it would have been in March. The next, we would add impressions. And for impressions, we have to go to each media source and get the data. For organic search, we would go to Google Analytics, assuming that Google Analytics has been connected to Google Search Console. Then you can go into Google Analytics and get that information. I'll explain how to do that in a future video. Very similarly with paid search, in this case it's AdWords impressions. We need to go to AdWords in order to get that information. Display in this case is Google Display, and we would using AdWords, and we would go to Google AdWords in order to get that information. Things like newsletters, we would actually use something like how many emails were distributed in the month, and that would give us an idea. Say for example in May here, we actually did 2 mailouts, then we could change that number to be 4,600, so double what it was in previous months because we sent out 2 emails. The rest of this impressions is very similar. You can see this trade show, we didn't get that many impressions, but we did get 400 people stopping by our booth. Next is sessions. Most of the clients that we have are driving people. Most marketing is driving people to the website. So what we want to do is track how many sessions are happening, how many sessions are occurring on the on their website. In this case, what we're doing is using Google Analytics data, and you can see these numbers at the top. If this was real data, then this would be coming directly from Google Analytics. What we've done is we've segmented it out or parsed it out by marketing channel, and these numbers would be coming from Google Analytics. One of my favorite reports, you can look it up on one of the videos, my favorite report, and that's how we're getting that information. The rest of this information, prospects, estimates, and the outcomes has to come from somewhere. So this may be a spreadsheet, or it may be a CRM, which would be a customer relationship management database. But somewhere estimates may be coming from QuickBooks or whatever program people are using for preparing estimates. And then sales numbers are typically coming either from a financial source like QuickBooks, or they're coming from a CRM. Audience size, let's have a look at that one. The audience size, what we're trying to do here is get an estimate or a rough idea of how many people are included in the company's community. So you can see we can't get an audience size for everything, but we can get an audience size for newsletters, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube to really understand what that audience is on a monthly basis. And you can see what we want is to have this number increase. In January it was 4,900, and in May it had increased by nearly, over 500 people. So you can see some of that increase has come from newsletters, but a big portion has come from Facebook and from LinkedIn. The audience size is there. You can also see Twitter has increased a bit. Again, this is made up data, but the same is true for any company. They should be able to monitor or measure audience size on different platforms that they're doing. The last measure where we can add data is under revenue, and you can see here we've got different revenues by marketing channel. Some companies are not able to segment out their revenue data by marketing channel, and if that's the case, then what we do is we just enter the data under direct, and at least it's there. We can do some of the calculations like return on marketing investment, but some of the other more specific calculations like return on marketing investment for a specific channel we wouldn't be able to do because the data hasn't been segmented out. So we're working with all our clients to help them figure out how to segment the data, the revenue data by marketing channel. It's a bit of a chore, but it can be done, and definitely really valuable, because not only are you seeing then what marketing channels are working well, driving traffic to your website, but you can also see which marketing channels are increasing revenue. Sometimes they aren't the same, so it's a good thing to know. Once we have all the measures entered into the funnel area, then what we can do is start our analysis phase. And for that, what we do is click on the channel detail, and then I'm going to start with looking at all channels, and you can see the data is here, and it's a mixture of measures and metrics. If you recall, a measure is data and metrics is a calculation. So things like average dollar amount per impression would be a metric. Same with sessions divided by impressions would be a metric, whereas this part up in here are all measures. These are all measures here. They're just data that has been entered into the measures, funnel measures area. You can see at the top we've got investment, at the bottom we have revenue, and with that, those two numbers, we can calculate the return on marketing investment. And our formula for that would be revenue minus investment divided by investment. So just to do some quick math for you, if we had an investment of $1,000 and that generated revenue of $11,000, then we would subtract out the $1,000 and divide that by 1,000, and the answer is going to be the number 10. Now the way we format this is we would format this as $10, and what it means is for every dollar spent or invested in marketing, we received or earned $10 in revenue, which is a really good number. 10 is actually a good number. We even have one client that has an ROMI of 90, which means they've spent $1 in marketing and advertising, and out of that they got $90 in revenue, which is fantastic. Doesn't happen with all our clients. In this case, we have $4.50. So the math here is revenue minus our investment divided then again by our investment. And the answer would be 4.5. And how we would say this is for every dollar invested in marketing, we made $4.50 in revenue. You can see these numbers here are the left-hand side of a funnel. You see how they're sort of shaped in that funnel sort of format. Here we have the audience. You can see that's increasing every month. So now we're over 5,000. The cost per impression is 0.2 cents, sometimes 0.3 cents. And the average cost to get somebody to the website in January is just over $1. And you can see in February it actually increased a little bit, then dropped a little bit, but it's hovering around $1.50 or so per month. The cost to get a prospect is $31, and you can see that goes up and down depending on the month. The cost to do an estimate in this case is over $200, sometimes $300, and then 1 month a bit under $100. And then their average cost per sale. So in order to make a sale, it's costing this company, again this is made up data, costing this company $400, which, you know, maybe that's a good number, maybe it's not. It depends on the company. Then we've got our conversion metrics. So these are all the conversion metrics. I won't talk about them all, but I will have a look at estimates to sales. In this case, it's 57-60%, and you can see the numbers. If we look at the numbers up top here, you know, 50%. This number is over 50% of 91. If estimates was 100, then even 52 would be greater. So we have a conversion rate of $57. Once all of this has been calculated by the software, the measures have been entered, and the software has done the calculation, then we can look at this and do some analysis. And each company is going to be different in what measures and metrics they want to monitor. Lots of companies will be looking at, you know, the volume of traffic back to their site, obviously sales. They may be looking at the cost to get somebody to come to the website, which would be average cost per session. They may be looking at something like take rate, which would be the conversion between your estimates or your offer and sales. They obviously are looking at overall revenue. And the reason this is 0 is just because I haven't entered any data there. And then a number that we would like companies to track would be the return on marketing investment. One thing that we can do here is we can start looking at different channels and analyzing how they are performing compared to the average, right? So in this case, we're looking at paid search, which is Google AdWords. We spent, you know, $3,000, almost $4,000, almost $6,000 in these 2 months. And you can see here the cost to get them back to the site is a bit over $1, and our average cost per sale is high. See, so, and that's typical. Google AdWords is not the cheapest channel. It's effective, but not cheapest. You can see that it is driving in prospects, and people are buying that have got to the particular website. In 1 month, we had an excellent return on marketing investment. We can also switch this to organic. Typically, organic has got really good numbers. In this case, we spent $1,200, and just looking at some key areas, you can see here the sales are a little bit higher than paid search. The average cost per sale is less, and our conversion rates are so-so, not as good as some other areas, but still not too bad, and it is driving revenue. So we can do some analysis on each area that way. You can also click on, you know, the menu on the left-hand side and see the different measures and metrics per channel. The last area that we want to look at in our current version of the software is trends. In this case, it's graphs that that have been generated. We do want to make some improvements in this over the next few months, but right now what we have is a graph of all marketing channels, so we don't have a breakdown per channel. We still need to add that feature. We do have a comparison of last year to this year if we want, and you can see that there's impressions, so a bit less than last year. Here's last year was almost 10 million, and in this case it's 8.5 million. So it's dropped a little bit from last year. Again, this is made up data. We can see the cost data here, cost per impression, and down here we can see sessions data, and our sessions, it just goes through all of the different areas, all of the different measures and metrics. Down here at the bottom here we've got our marketing return on marketing investment. So that concludes today's demo of Mx3 Metrics software. You can contact us if you have any questions. Our website is mx3metrics.com. You can also send me an email, jeff@anduro.com. That would be, if I just take this out, jeff@anduro.com. Or you can give me a call, 403-703-2247. Thank you very much for listening, and look forward to talking to any of you or connecting with any of you at some point in the future.